Hi, this is Scott with your weekend update for Friday, March 26, 2021. And just another reminder, friendly reminder, this product is not meant to replace reading the daily forecast each morning. So please check back in to get the latest and greatest hot off the press at 7:30 a.m. each morning. So we're going to take a quick look at the kind of past, present, and future. So what happened this past week, what was going on today, and what you can expect this weekend and coming into next week. So quick recap, going back to last weekend on Sunday, a skier was caught in a small wind slab avalanche over on Peak 2 in the Soldier Mountains. They weren't widespread. There were, kind of few and far between, but they found one and were able to trigger it. And fortunately, no one was injured in that. And then we had a mixed bag, kind of cooler weather, some sun, some clouds, not a whole lot going on, kind of some fairly benign and boring weather and resulting avalanche conditions. And then we had the storm that came through starting Wednesday night and ended last night. We'll talk about that a little more in depth. So looking at the danger, you can see at the bottom, March 19th through the top, March 26th, which is today, that we were going from a period of moderate danger due to the wind slabs up at upper elevations, and then things kind of mellowed out. It was mostly low danger for the bulk of the week. And then with this new storm, we're back up into the moderate range. So spring storms, this was a kind of a fun one. It was a really interesting weather pattern. So a couple notable things, we had just really variable totals. And I'll show a diagram here that shows how the snow totals varied over the course of our forecast area. And we picked up 7 inches at Baldy in a few hours last night on Thursday night. And those areas were definitely favored, the areas around Sun Valley and to the east, which is kind of an anomaly. One of the big take homes, variable spring weather produces variable avalanche conditions and stuff happens fast. So it's kind of like if you put the remote control when you're watching a movie on fast forward and you're trying to watch it, you just don't quite grasp what's going on quite as well as if you're watching at normal speed. So be aware of that in the springtime, that things happen fast, whether it's snowfall, sun, you name it. Conditions are really dynamic and rapidly changing. So the storm totals from this last storm, instead of usually the west gets more snow and the east is drier, it's exactly the opposite, where the eastern mountains, excuse me, so the Wood River Valley, Littlewood, and the Pioneers, Boulders, and White Clouds, they got 6 to 12 inches, probably more in some isolated areas. We're not sure about that though. Then you had the Western Mountains, the Sawtooth, Banner Summit area getting 4 to 8, and the Soldiers 3 to 6 inches. So kind of a flip-flop from a lot of the typical weather patterns. The present, what the danger was today, it was rated as moderate at upper and middle elevations and low down at lower elevations. And that was kind of driven by both new snow and wind. That as you went higher in elevation, there was a lot more new snow. And as you go higher in elevation, there's more wind. So activity that we had today, this was the most notable slide that we saw. And it was interesting that it was, as kind of expected, that mostly at upper elevations, but it was really focused on west through southwest through south aspects. This was natural and skier triggered slides that we saw today. I'll get to a little bit on why that happened here, a couple bullet points later. This one was up on Gladiator Peak, natural D2 Avalanche, so big enough to bury someone. It's a couple 100 feet wide. And that one is on a west aspect. And then we had a lot of smaller D1 to D1.5s, both AS, which means artificial ski triggered, and natural in the Pioneers. I was up there today with Chris and we triggered one little one on kind of a small test slope, saw one other decent sized one, and then just some little dribbles all over where little wind drifts had failed on their own. And then in the Sawtooth, it was the same thing. And in the Boulder Mountains, there were a few of them as well. I'll have a picture of another interesting one there. The ones that we saw in the Pios, they were running on crust facets or just crusts kind of near and at the old snow surface. And we expect that that's going to be kind of similar throughout the story of these different slides. Ben was up in the Sawtooth, and he reported that he could actually remotely trigger things that were running on a facet crust combo kind of near the old snow surface. This is on Galena Peak, south aspect. And we're not sure the story on this, but they appear to be two skier triggered wind slabs. That one on Gladiator, we would call that a wind slab as well as an obviously wind affected area. And with these being on west through southwest through south aspects, the wind was actually, it was kind of wrapping around the way that that storm happened to put more snow on the eastern side of the forecast area. It was this kind of moisture feed was coming around from east to west. So there were some east winds that were driving this east and northeast. So you had potentially crusts and a weak layer, and that's where the wind happened to blow more of the snow. And this photo is a really neat example. You can see some really obvious signs of wind, all those ripples and striations, kind of dune and drift-like features on the right-hand side of the photo there. And this is a south aspect here. So what do we have going forward? Well, the weather forecast, we have definitely some pretty darn nice weather coming the next 2 days where it's going to gradually warm up and mostly clear skies. And then kind of a brutal change back to that springtime, things happen fast, where it's going to be much colder, really, really windy, kind of an abnormal wind event in store for us on Monday with unfortunately just a little snow. We're not going to get a whole lot with this one on Sunday night and Monday. And then sunny with a kind of gradual warming trend from Tuesday on throughout the rest of the week. So yeah, kind of typical spring weather where you get some nice weather, a little squall or a storm, some more nice weather. So danger and avalanche problems for this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be warm and sunny. So primarily, we're going to see issues at upper elevations, just like we were seeing today. We expect that to continue for the most part. It's not to say you can't trigger an avalanche at middle and lower, but things are definitely going to be focused on where there was more snow up high and more wind. So you have both more wind slabs and more snow for the sun to move around. So we'll expect to see some superficial or wet loose slides that are involving the new snow that fell from this last storm on the sunnier slopes. Today, it didn't quite get there. Things got really moist and damp in the upper few inches of the snowpack on slopes exposed to the sun where we were, but we didn't quite have the wet loose avalanche hazard where things are just running on their own all around you. We may get there tomorrow, we may get there Sunday. It's really tough to predict exactly what's going to happen, but I expect to see some wet loose avalanches. And then the dry snow problems. So we'd expect that these wind slabs will remain possible to trigger. They're not big, they're not tying like entire cirques together. They tend to be kind of confined to paths and chutes and smaller features. But the fact that they're sitting on crusts and on crusts and facets would lead me to believe, or I would tend to think that they're going to take a little bit of time to stabilize, more so than if they were just falling on new snow or on fairly recent snow that have been sitting around. And then you may be able to trigger some dry, loose avalanches on shady slopes. So really steep, especially where there's more than about 8 inches of new snow from this last storm. There's a chance, depends how warm it stays at night, basically, but we may see some deeper wet loose avalanches at lower elevations where the snowpack's thin. So just if you're sinking down into mushy, sloppy, gloppy snow, then it's time to find somewhere else to play where you're not falling down onto the ground or your sled's digging trenches all the way to the ground. So probably low danger increasing to moderate as you climb an elevation. And then here's that big contrast in temperatures I was talking about. So if you look on the left-hand side, we have highs in the mid 50s to 50s in the valleys. So Haley 56, Stanley 52, and the mountains are predominantly in the 30s and even 40s. Then you look on Monday, and it's 15 to 20 degrees colder. So it's going to be kind of teens, 20s in the mountains and 30s, maybe 40 if we get lucky in the valleys on Monday, kind of a return to winter for a brief 24-hour period. And then the winds, it's pretty rare that you see forecasted winds to be consistently in the 30s and 40s in the valleys. That's wind speeds 41 in Stanley and 46 in Haley, and a big swath of the forecast area, solidly in the 40s. So, expect it to be a kind of a bitterly cold day if you're up on exposed ridge tops on Monday. And we'd like to thank the Pocatello National Weather Service office for providing these graphics to us. So then Sunday night and Monday, what's that going to do with the cold and wind? Kind of we're in rinse and repeat mode, where that spring cycle, you get a storm, whether it's wind or snow driven, and then some fair weather and warming, and then a storm, and then fair weather. So we'll probably see a fresh crop of wind slabs. Odds are they'll be digging down into middle elevations too as well, not just at upper. We may see some dry loose on shady slopes. Who knows? Depends how hard the wind blows. And we won't see the wet loose avalanche problems. Those will be shut off. So probably another day of low to moderate hazard, but for very different reasons than on Sunday. And then midweek, things start to warm up. Going in towards next weekend, it looks right now the weather models show a pretty significant ridge of high pressure forming. So we'll get back into the wet loose problem, where whatever new snow is there now and wherever the wind blows the snow on Monday, that as that warms up, there'll be a chance of both natural and skier triggered wet loose avalanches. And we'll probably get back into towards the end of the week, where we're more concerned about the more gouging, deeper wet loose avalanches that involve most of or the entire snowpack, where the snowpack's shallow at lower elevations. And then we'll probably still see another crop of those lingering dry snow problems, especially the first day or two after Tuesday, where you need to worry about wind slabs and dry loose avalanches as well. And some more low to moderate. It may not have quite the elevation dependency that it did on, say, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, where just because the problems are going to change, it'll be a pretty dynamic situation. But we don't expect the danger to spike really high. We don't anticipate any considerable or high avalanche danger. So to wrap it up, check the forecast each morning at 7:30. Again, this product is not meant to replace it. You can sign up to have it emailed to you. At the bottom of every page on the website, there's a box at the bottom. All you need to do is enter your email address and shazam, there you go. You'll get the forecast sent to you each morning at 7:30. And please tell us what you're seeing. Our observations are so greatly appreciated. We're covering a huge area, and it's a luxury that we have more than one or two of us out each day to cover over 3,000 square miles. So you can either text it to us, email it to us, just tag us on social media, and then the observation form, again, at the bottom of every page, just click on the blue button and it takes you to a really simple form that you can just tell us what you're seeing. And even if your observation is, we high marked the snot out of the whole bowl, that's a great, and nothing happened. That's a great observation. That's a ton of information for us. So pay attention. Remember, things change rapidly, very quickly, and have fun out there. And most importantly, as always, is have fun out there. Stay safe. Have a good time.